All right. Okay, so this video is about the costs of van life. I've not been doing this a huge amount of time compared to most. I'm about 4.5 months in. I've been across on the continent, Scotland, etc., put several thousand miles on the clock. So I do think I have a pretty good understanding, at least from my own personal experiences, of where money is going and potential areas to make some vast savings, which I think I need to do. So this isn't going to be an absolute dive into the nitty-gritty of pounds and pence. This is more an overview of some cost considerations you could look at if you do intend going this way and making van life a part of your future journey. And hopefully there'll be something to take away from this. It's all based on my own personal experiences, and I appreciate that's not going to be the same metric for other people that are out there doing this. I'm also not working at the same time. I'm fortunate enough to be in a position where I retired quite early, so a job doesn't keep me in one place. So please bear that in mind. It's not a one size fits all when it comes to type of van, what you do with your van life and your budget and all that sort of stuff, but we'll get into that anyway. Okay, so the first thing we'll look at is the van itself. Obviously, stands to reason if you're going to do van life, you need one of those. Now, there are several options available, and they all come with their own quirks, pros and cons. Again, it'll be whatever suits your needs. But, you can start off, the first option you got is the basic van, be that a barn find, a builder's van, a doer-upper that's part done, etc. That's an option that's readily available. You can pick those up pretty much same day if you fall lucky on eBay or Auto Trader or wherever you're sourcing your vehicles from. The implication for that one really is the time constraint. If you've got all the time in the world and you're quite handy, at building things and all that sort of stuff, then this probably is one of the cheaper ways to get into this. And if you're happy living on basic means and basic kit, then you can pretty much start straight away, and build it and kit it out as you go in. There are many people that have chosen this way and they seem to be doing just fine. The other end of the scale, obviously, you've got your tailor-made bespoke vehicles that will work with you with your plans and all the rest of it. These run into many tens of thousands, if not into the 100,000s, which clearly wasn't an option for me. There was no way I was going to spend that money on a van. But the thing for that, a huge pro for that, if I'm honest, is you've got the warranty on all of this. It's generally a new van, so your other costings that we'll go on to later, your maintenance and stuff like that, is going to be a lot less in the first instance, and you're unlikely. Everything can break down, but you're unlikely to break down compared to a 40-year-old van that's been held together with blue tack and duct tape. So you've got your barn find builder's van at the lower end. You've got your bespoke van up the top end. One needs a huge budget and time, lead-in time, and all the rest of it for it to be delivered. The other one does need time if you want to kit it all out, but you can have some of these vans for a song. And then you've got the middle option, which is what I've got, which is a van that's already been done. These aren't going to be exactly how you want them, but for something to get out there straight away, be up and running, and get out there and enjoy the journey, for me, it was the option I went for because it made sense in many ways. I could afford it. It was relatively cheap as vans go, but also I'd sold my house a lot quicker than I'd anticipated, and so I was pretty tight on time, and so I needed something to go straight away. I didn't have the time or the knowledge or tools or anything like that to buy a van and kit it out myself. So that's pretty much the three options you got when it comes to vans. However, there are other options, and this comes down to, again, your budget and your needs. But you could go the micro camper option, the car camping option. And, you know, there is the motorhome as well. And as much as vanners will take the mick out of motorhomes and all the rest of it, I'm guilty of that too, but it's all in good fun. They are a ready-made solution, ready to go. They often come with very low mileage. They usually come with a habitation check, which means everything has been checked over, is good to go. Your gas, your water, your grey water storage, etc. And having been in a couple over the past few days, my God, I get greener and greener with envy every time I exit one. They're purpose built for this. So, of course, they're going to be a little bit special. But then, you know, you're lugging around a motorhome. It's with whatever van and option you go for, there are always compromises. And at the end of the day, only you can decide that. But they're sort of like the overall cost implications depending on which one you choose. Okay, so the second point is the ongoing running costs of your vehicle. You know, you've bought the vehicle, now you have to get it on the road, be legal, and then, you know, pay for everything that's going to happen along the way. These are, you know, if you're already a car owner, which I should imagine you are, if you're getting a van or have been a van owner, then you'll know, you know, tax, MOT, insurance, the big three. This isn't any different except for insurance. Like my last van, or last couple of vans actually, were around about £400, I think it were, to insure them. This van, with all the insurers I spoke to, was more £1,200 as a full-time living-in person. So that's three times the cost, and also the market is very tight. There aren't many insurers that will insure you as a full-time van lifer. You know, you can phone around and try and get a couple of quid off here, there and everywhere, but it's not like you're insuring a car where, you know, your options are vast. So that's one cost. There's not really, to be fair, there's not really many savings you can do. These are the three, you know, legitimate things you have to have, the legal requirements to make your vehicle roadworthy and legal on the roads. So yeah, that's a cost you're just going to have to put up with. But then there are the other ongoing costs of owning the van. And whether that's, you know, regular maintenance, servicing. I would suggest servicing. I've never done it before in all my other old cars, old vans, because I didn't really do much. And if they broke down, you know, you'd put it in a garage and go back home. You don't really have that option if you're living full time in a van and don't have the home to go back to. You know, this is your home, so you want to treat it as well as you can. And that does mean throwing a few more quid at it than you probably would to your family car if you're lazy and tight like me. You know, and then you look on the other side, breakdown. I'm with the RAC, and I wouldn't be without some form of breakdown cover. Just because, as I previously mentioned, this is your home. You know, you don't want to be stuck somewhere, you know, at the end of your tether with a van that doesn't go. You need to be towed somewhere where you can start to, you know, address the issues and get back to van life as quick as you can. So I think I pay something like £120, £130 a year, something like that. So it works out about £10 a month. And just for that peace of mind to get you out of the shit, if ever you fall into it, then I think it's something that, you know, I would strongly suggest people have. And then there are your other things, you know, your consumables, I like to call them, your tyres, your brake pads, your screen wash, all these little things, washing your van down at the local, you know, car wash, etc. Each time there's another 10 or 15 quid. You know, and you can add to that anything else that you see fit that you know, you would want to do with your own vans. But it's just, you know, it's just, you've got the van, but there are still those pay-as-you-go ongoing costs that you have to be aware of, that's all. Right, so point number 3, we've got our van, we're legal on the road, and we've got breakdown cover and all that sort of stuff. The third one now is pretty obvious, fuel. And I'd have to say, in the 4.5 months I've been doing this, fuel is probably, other than the initial cost of the van, fuel is probably the biggest expense. That's mainly down to me and how I've lived over the first 3 months or so. But yeah, fuel is a huge cost, so don't underestimate that one. If you're like me, straight out the gates, when you start doing this thing and you're really excited, new places, new things to see, new things to do, yeah, it's going to cost you a fair bit of money. At the start, it was, move to a new parking place every day or every 2 days maximum, and yeah, it starts to attack your wallet before you bloody know it. 4, 5, 6 times you're filling up in a month, and that's like 600, 700 quid. That's a fair chunk of money, and I guess maybe it's the honeymoon period that everyone goes through, especially if you're as excited by the small things like I am. So it was pretty much a headless chicken scenario for the first couple of months. I'd like to think I'm calming down now. So these past 2 weeks, I've spent sort of like 3-4 days in one place, as long as the place can support it, of course. And I've noticed a massive difference. I can't remember the last time I filled up. I think it was 2 weeks ago, actually. And I'm still on over half a tank. And not only, and this is a cost. It's not a financial cost, but it is a cost. Is that the stress levels of having to go out and find a new park up and all that. Yes, there are the apps, and I'll talk about that in the next point. Even though there are these things out there, it is bloody stressful and tiring. All that driving, to get to a place that may be occupied, may not be. So that's another sort of like hidden cost that isn't money related. But yeah, fuel is a massive one. And then hand in hand with that, it's where do you source your fuel? The first red liner would be don't fill up on a motorway. 160, 170 a litre really is taking the piss. It's a swift kick to the nuts if you're filling up, especially if you want to fill the whole thing. 100 litres of that price is eye-watering. So yeah, I would say top tip, don't fill up on a motorway. But then even in your local fuel stations, there is a huge disparity between prices. The last time I filled up, I think it was 132, 133. And I found a few places like that, but the norm seems to be more 145, 147. So, and if you're filling up, as I say, with 90 to 100 litres, that difference of 10 pence, it's an extra tenner or whatever it is that could go towards something else. So why wouldn't you want to do that if you're passing a garage? Then fill up. And what I would say as well, another top tip is even if you don't need to fill up, even if you've got 3/4 of a tank or whatever, and you could maybe get a tenner in there, get a tenner in. If you see fuel at the cheapest price you've seen, then just chuck a tenner's worth in there. Those little incremental savings over time will save you a lot of money. And also it keeps your tank filled up for emergencies if you need to make a long dash back home or for anything else. Don't fill up on motorways and try and get as much cheap fuel as you can. And I'm sure there's apps out there to guide you on that one, though I don't know. I don't use them. Okay, so we got the van. We're legal on the road. We've filled up with fuel. Where are we going? What are we doing? Now, obviously, your options are campsites, park-ups, wild camping. Pretty much they're your 3 options. Campsites, I haven't used yet. I'm not dead set against them. It's just I haven't found the need for one just yet. Though I do think the way things are going, that will change. But, as it stands, a campsite can be, 20 quid, 30 quid for a vehicle with one person in it. Yes, you get the shower and all the rest of it, but I am absolutely self-contained in this vehicle, so I don't need anything other than to park it somewhere. Now that's all very well and good if I'm in an area where I want to go and climb, I don't know, a ton of mountains and I can access it all from a campsite. That would make perfect sense and I would go and do it. But I'm so up in the air and ad hoc with my movements, and I'm from pillar to post that I'm never that settled, I don't think. Except for the fuel costs, and I'm starting to slow down a bit now, which is why I said this is something that I may end up doing, as the months go on. So yeah, so you've got your campsites. Again, it comes down to what your needs are, what your budget is, and it's all very much an individual pursuit. Then you've got your park-ups, which are your, I see a lot now about farmers that are offering fields or a space on a field for, I don't know, £7 a night, £10 a night, something like that, which is not too bad. That's cheap enough in my book, especially if you want to be in a particular area for a certain amount of time. The other one, which is quite popular, is pubs. They'll offer it as free parking if you buy food and drinks. So it's not really free parking because you probably end up spending 20, 30, 40 quid on meals and drinks, especially if you're a couple. However, if you are going to a pub, it's part of your planning and your process and all the rest of it. Then yeah, why not? Pick a pub that also offers overnight parking and eat there. If you're going to be eating there anyway, then just eat there and then get the parking on top, which I suppose you can class as free. Again, I've not done this yet because I'm trying to stay away from pubs as much as I can for my own personal reasons. But also, again, I've just not, as yet, I've not found the need to. And then the other side of it is your wild camping, which I've done now for 4.5 months. Mostly it's worked out okay. I've had one flyer on the windscreen where in a totally innocent move, I parked in just like a pull off. Actually, it wasn't even a car park, but a pulling on in the Forest of Dean. And yeah, I woke up to a flyer on the windscreen. I'd infringed a couple of bylaws, which I genuinely didn't know about. I didn't read up on this sort of stuff before I went there. Didn't see any signs, nothing else. There were other cars parked there. So I thought, this'll do. So yeah. But apart from that, I've towed the line, or not got caught, whichever way you want to look at it. No, I tend to be quite sensible, I think. But there are plenty of options out there, and it's the cheapest way of doing it. If you are self-contained, and you are responsible for your waste and everything is done properly and above board, then yeah, wild camp, why not? There's more than enough places to go and do it. You've got your apps to help you with that, Park for Night, etc. Brit stops for your park ups. I've never used that one, and I don't know what it's like. Some people rave about it, other people hate it, but it's there if you want to take a look at it. Yeah, so, I can't speak for how much campsites would impact your budget because I don't use them or haven't used them as yet. But it's definitely a cost factor to consider if you do need that sort of support and you want to park in those areas, be it for safety, be it for the shower blocks and the ease of that life. Yeah, so that's the parking arrangements, I think, covered. Right, so we've got our van. We're legal on the road. We filled it with fuel, as cheap as we can get it, and we found somewhere we want to park. The next thing, point 5, which I fall foul of all the time, is food and cooking. You can make this aspect, if you like, as cheap as you want. You really can. Or you go on the other side and spend shitloads of money when you shouldn't really, because you're being uber lazy, and that's me. yeah, I came into the van, bought all the groceries and everything else with all the best intentions in the world of cooking big gourmet meals like you see it on Instagram and, you know, and YouTube, and the doors open, there's a beach view, and you've got a nice little healthy, I don't know, whatever, cooking away there on the stove top. Yeah, the reality is, my own personal experience, the reality is, when you've driven for a long time, you're tired, it's late at night and all the rest of it, and you just happen to go past a Burger King, McDonald's, Domino's Pizza, you pick a fast food, and you'll be passing it at some point. And for me, the calling is so strong that I'm like, oh yeah, I'll cook tomorrow and I'll eat one of those now because I'm really hungry and tired and lazy, basically. And then that becomes a habit. And then all that stuff in the cupboard starts to rot, and then you throw it away, and then you're like, oh, well, I don't want to do shopping now, I'm not using it, so I'll just carry on eating shit food. So yeah, as I said at the start, the two major costings really are fuel, which you can manage by your actions, really. Don't drive as far, don't drive every day, etc. And food is for me, it's huge. It's a massive cost, but again, that's down to me and my in the first instance, just pure laziness. And the other thing is, I've only got two stovetop gas burners, and one pot meals. You know, I do them. Don't get me wrong. I do cook, and I do make healthy salads and all that sort of stuff. But I eat far too much takeaway shite, and that really does come at a financial cost. I was going to say at the moment I'm managing that, is fine, I can afford it. I really can't. I've looked recently, and yeah, I've dipped so far into my savings, it just makes no sense whatsoever. So it's something I really do need to get a grip of. If you are super health conscious, you are brilliant cooks, love cooking, hate fast food, and all the rest of it, then you should be fine. You should be fine. I'm just relaying what experiences I've had based on my own personal laziness, I guess, etc. So yeah, so food is definitely where money will go. The other thing, of course, is what can you carry? How big's your van? Do you have a fridge? Do you have a freezer? Can you extend some of those things? The van design and your utilities within the van will somewhat determine what kind of food you carry and therefore what you cook. Right, so I think that's food taken care of. Okay, so we've done all that. We've got the van, we're on a campsite, we're wild camping, we're making dinner, etc. It leads us on really to point 6 now, which is the miscellaneous items. You know, what else do you need to be out there on the road? Well, I guess that again, that comes down to your personal needs, whether you're still working and you need, fast data and all that sort of stuff. I get by on just my mobile phone and a laptop, and I tether everywhere, mobile hotspot, and yeah, I'm fine with that. Some park-ups are really, really poor for signal. But, I upload a YouTube video every week, and I've not failed yet. Sometimes they take 4 to 5 hours to upload. Sometimes I need to move, actually, to upload them. But, that's part and parcel of this. You manage the situation, you find out what works, what doesn't, and then you move yourself to make sure you can make it happen. However, there are alternatives for things like that. You can get like I think it's like Wi-Fi bricks or MiFi, wherever it's called. If you're particularly rich, or you do need fast data, fast reliable data and connections, then you've got the option of Starlink, which is I don't know, I think it's a £90 a month or something. It's something at the moment, that's something I don't need just yet. Other miscellaneous items, Christ, what else have you got? So you've got your laundry, you know, if you've got lots of friends, if you've got a good network of friends and family, or you stay in relatively close to one area, then that's not really an issue for you. Like me, I move around all the place. I do have friends around the country, and now and again I can get my washing done. But if not, I think the last laundry I used was a Liverpool, and that was a massive, massive load, and that cost 12 quid, I think, and that was washed, dried, pressed, and returned in the same day. So not massively expensive, and I carry enough clothes on board that I can probably do that, get away with that once a month, I guess. Plus I don't change my clothes that often. No, I don't. You've got parking fees if you're going into towns and cities, if you want to go and, you know, look at cathedrals, churches, go and do a bit of shopping, etc. You've got your parking costs there, and then if you're anything like me, that then doubles up as, you know, if you're paying to go into a town, then you just will have a coffee while you're there, and if you're having a coffee, you've got to have a slice of cake, you know, and straight away there's a tenner gone. If there's two of you, that's 20 quid plus your parking, you know, and these things soon add up, they really do. And you know, you don't want to be doing those too often, because it'll cost a bloody fortune. If you're cooking in the van, obviously your gas bottles, either the exchangeable bottles, or if you've got one of the gasset refillable bottles under the van, you know, that's another cost that you'll need to keep doing. To be fair, that gas it's been in, I'm not sure how much is in there or was in there when I first bought the van. It felt quite heavy, so, and I'm now 4.5 months into it, and I use it every day, making brews mainly, and the odd one pot wonder. And it lasts an age. So even if you are cooking quite a lot, I don't think gas is something you're going to go through rapidly. I don't think, depending on use case, obviously. But it is another cost to factor in there. Oh, what else? What else? Yeah, so gym membership. That seems to be a big one. People want to train, etc. But also mainly for showers, you know, things like Pure Gym or Open Gym, whatever it's called. You know, they've got a pretty wide network of gyms. Ideally, that's suited, I think, more to those that live in towns, visit quite often towns, or are based in a certain area for work or family, or studies, etc. And so that would really work well. It doesn't do it for me, if I'm honest. Even though, you know, 30 quid a month, 20 quid a month, whatever it is for the membership, is relatively cheap to have a shower all the time and to train. It just means that then I'd have to be going into towns and cities to do that. And to be quite honest, I prefer to be out in the countryside, or on the coast, or you know, these kind of areas where it's a little bit more quiet, scenic, and better for photography, or my type of photography anyway. So yeah, so you know, they're just some of the miscellaneous items on top of everything else we've already covered that you need to either set a budget for, or have some money set aside for, or just be very wary of them, or aware of them, I should say, so that you can manage that as best you can. And I think pretty much that covers it. That's the 6 points, I think, in my experience at least, where the money goes. Like I say, you know, I haven't priced it accordingly into pounds and pence for individual items, because, you know, everybody's needs are different, and we'd be here all day arguing about the price of a coffee, etc. You know, I think you know, if you're aware of the areas where costs are and where savings can be made, then I think that's pretty much enough to get you going in the first place. There are two other costs. These are personal, but these are both that I've experienced since being on the road in 4 months, and neither of them are money related. So the first one, which goes kind of hand in hand with the food really, is health. So since doing this, I've probably put on about a stone. Massively. The eating, my diet and all the rest of it hasn't helped at all. And again, this is brought about mostly by my own laziness, which is something I'm trying to address, believe you me. Not for the cost factor neither, or the financial factor, more because yeah, I'm heavier now than I think I've ever been. And also then it's the training. I know I touched on gyms, but I'd rather just do stuff myself. But when you go for a run, which I've done several times from the van anyway, coming back and having just a wipe down with wet wipes, you can get away with a run every now and again, or like a little circuit of your own with press-ups and squats and all that sort of stuff. But after a couple of sessions, really, the wet wipes aren't cutting it. So then you have to have a shower. Now that's only going to work if you're in an area or a car park or lay-by or something where you can have a shower outside. So I would shower outside because I've got one of the portable ones that you may have seen on a previous video. So yeah, and all of these things have led to, you know, a decline. I wouldn't say in my health, but my physical well-being and everything else that goes along with that. So that's just one thing to be aware of. Look, if you're young, super fit and all the rest of it, and are into that and don't mind stinking of sweat and, you know, lolling around your van, etc., then crack on. It's just something I can't do. And I thought I'd just make you aware that you can come out with all the best intentions. I've got a box in the garage there, absolutely full of sports kit. I don't think I've taken the lid off it since I've been out, because I've got one pair of shorts out and a pair of trainers, and that's it. The rest of it, nah. haven't even been in there. So that's that one. And then the second one, and this is it was unforeseen, and it's now something I just have to get on with, and that's relationships. If you're in a really, really solid relationship, it's something you both desire, want to do, have done it before, got some experience, then you should be fine. If, however, you've got underlying issues and hairline cracks already, then this will either kill or cure it, I would say. In my own experience, it's killed it. That'll come as a surprise to friends and family that are watching this, because I've absolutely not spoken about it at all. But yeah, so myself and Libby started this journey back in March, and now we're both doing it individually, solo, as that all came to an end early last week. So, and to be honest, that's all I'm going to say on it. I don't think it's fair to say anything else, and so I'll leave it there. But I just wanted to make you aware that there are other costs beyond the financial, albeit these are personal ones. So, yeah, and I think that pretty much wraps up this video. Sorry, it's been just one long dulcet tone monologue amount of shite. No, hopefully you've got something from it. If not, then I can only apologise for wasting how many, I don't know, however many minutes I've been waffling on for. Yeah, right. I shall bring it to an end there. If you've got any takeaways from it, brilliant. If you're watching this and you're already a vanner, and there are things I've missed, and you think people would benefit from knowing that, then by all means drop any hints and tips down in the comment section, so that we can all learn from it. As I say, I've only been doing it for 4.5 months, which means I'm pretty new to it, though I do seem to have, I think I've got enough experience to talk about some of the things anyway. Yeah, and yeah, that's it. I'll leave it there. Thank you ever so much for watching. Thank you for all the likes and everything else. If you've not subscribed, then please do consider it. I'd be very, very grateful. And until the next time, take care. Bye-bye.